You're fixing your hair for the third time, checking your phone. He said he'd be there at 8. It's 8:15. You take a deep breath and smile when he finally shows up. No apology, no explanation. Like you don't even deserve that, but you swallow it because you're afraid of seeming difficult, afraid of ruining the chance, afraid of being alone again. 3 hours later, you're laughing at his jokes. He barely asked about you, talked about his ex, his problems, his dreams, and you listen to it all because that's what you do. You care, you comfort, you wait to be chosen. When the date ends, you go home smiling, but inside you're already analyzing every word. Did he like me? Was I too much or not enough? And then comes that question that's haunted you for years, since the first heart you gave away that got shattered. How do I know if this time will be different? You're not crazy. You're not too demanding. You're not hard to love. What you feel has a name, and it has a solution. Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest scholars of the human mind, taught something revolutionary. We attract what we mentally occupy ourselves with. If your dominant thought is, "I'll be alone, no one's good, everyone leaves me," guess what you attract? You don't choose the wrong men by bad luck. You attract them because you carry a mental frequency of scarcity. A mind that fears loss accepts anything to avoid emptiness, and he senses that, consciously or unconsciously. On the first date, you're already in survival mode. You're not getting to know him. You're trying to be chosen, proving you deserve to stay, ignoring signs that, deep down, you've already noticed. He showed up late without apologizing? You justified it. Must have been traffic. He talked only about himself the whole time. You thought, he must be nervous. He didn't ask anything deep about you? You figured, maybe next time he'll open up more. But the truth hurts. You're not analyzing if he is right for you. You're praying that you are right for him. And that changes everything. Because when you live in fear of not being enough, you accept crumbs thinking they're a feast. You ignore disrespect thinking it's patience. And you turn a first date, which should be a compatibility test, into a desperate audition to be loved. Hill said, "Your thoughts become things." And if your dominant thought is fear, you don't attract love. You attract exactly what you fear. This didn't start now. It wasn't on this first date that you learned to erase yourself. It wasn't with him that you decided to accept less than you deserve. This story started much earlier, maybe in childhood, when you saw someone you loved leave, or when you realized that being nice kept you safe. You created a silent belief: if I'm perfect, no one will abandon me. If I don't demand anything, he'll stay. If I give everything, he'll value me. But no one taught you that love isn't sacrifice, that giving yourself doesn't mean losing yourself. And so you grew up repeating the same cycle, choosing emotionally unavailable men. Men who make you feel you need to win them over. Men who never fully choose you. Because deep down, you believe love is effort, that you need to earn being loved. On the first date, you're already doing this. He arrives late and you smile. He only talks about himself, and you listen attentively. He shows no real interest, and you convince yourself he's shy. You justify, adapt, forgive before there's even an offense, because you're afraid of what comes after no. But see the pattern. You're not choosing. You're being chosen, or trying to be. And when you hand over the power of choice to someone else, you lose yourself in the process. You become hostage to his validation. And love turns into anxiety. How many men have passed through your life like this? How many times have you ignored that tightness in your chest? That inner voice saying, something's not right. But you silenced it because you were afraid of overreacting, afraid of losing the chance, afraid of being alone forever. And the worst part? You don't realize you're repeating it. Different faces, same dynamic. He changes, but you stay the same, accepting crumbs, hoping this time will be different. But how can it be different if you haven't changed your dominant thought? The truth is hard, but liberating. You don't attract what you deserve. You attract what you believe you deserve. And as long as your mind is programmed with fear of loneliness, you'll attract exactly who makes you feel alone. Even when you're with someone, if you're feeling a tightness in your chest right now, it's because something inside you is awakening. This pain you carry doesn't have to be forever. There's a path to healing, to awareness, to freedom, and you don't have to walk it alone. Click the button right now and subscribe to this channel, because here you'll find the answers your soul is searching for. We're going to help you break the patterns that bind you and build the love you truly deserve. You leave the date smiling, but when you get home, the smile disappears. You grab your phone and reread the messages, analyze every word you said, every silence he left hanging in the air, and you start asking yourself, was I good enough? This is the trap. You turn every date into an internal trial, where you're the defendant, the judge, and the witness. And you always declare yourself guilty. Guilty of not being interesting. Guilty of not being enough. You spend the next few days waiting for a message from him, checking your phone every 5 minutes, creating excuses in your head to justify the silence. He must be busy. Maybe he's afraid of getting involved. But the truth is, he's simply not interested, and you know it. And when he finally sends a cold, generic, shallow message, you feel a pathetic relief, as if those 3 soulless words were proof that you matter, as if crumbs were enough to keep you alive. You settle for the minimum and call it hope. But look at what's happening to you. You're not building a relationship. You're begging for attention. You're not being loved. You're being tolerated. And the worst part, you accept this as if it's all you deserve, because deep down, you're afraid. Afraid that if you demand more, he'll leave. Afraid that if you show your needs, he'll find you complicated. Afraid that if you stop being understanding, he'll replace you with someone easier. So you silence yourself, diminish yourself, adapt yourself. And while you do this, something inside you dies a little each day. You lose connection with yourself, stop hearing your own voice. Your intuition screams, but you don't listen, because you learned that the price of being loved is giving up who you are. And that, my dear, is the greatest betrayal of all, betraying yourself. And then comes the exhaustion. It's not physical tiredness, it's a tiredness of the soul, from carrying expectations that never materialize, from giving without ever receiving, from waiting for someone who never truly arrives. But there is a way out. There is a way to break this cycle. And it starts with something you've never done before, changing your dominant thought. Napoleon Hill taught that your mind attracts what you mentally feed it. If you want to attract real love, you need to stop thinking in scarcity. You need to reprogram your mind's frequency. Here's the first healing action. Stop seeking external validation and start validating yourself. Before your next date, look in the mirror and declare out loud, I am enough. I deserve to be chosen with the same intensity that I choose. Repeat this every day until your mind believes it, until your heart feels it. Because when you validate yourself, you stop accepting crumbs. The second healing action is this. Run the tests on the first date, but this time, test him, not yourself. Stop trying to impress. Stop performing to be accepted. Notice if he arrives on time. That speaks of respect. Notice if he asks questions about you. That speaks of real interest. Notice if he listens when you talk. That speaks of presence. And here's the secret that will change everything. If he fails any of these basic tests, you don't justify. You don't forgive in advance. You simply recognize, this isn't the right man for me, and you move forward. No drama, no guilt, no attachment to potential he'll never fulfill. Because mature love isn't about accepting anything. It's about knowing what you won't accept. It's not about adapting to someone. It's about finding someone who complements you, not completes you. You're already complete. You just need someone who recognizes that. Psychology doesn't lie. When you change what you think, you change what you attract. When you stop operating in fear, you open space to receive real love. When you value yourself, you automatically repel whoever doesn't value you and attract exactly who is at the same level of consciousness as you. It's mental law. It's emotional science. So here's the practical exercise you're going to do today. Take a piece of paper and write 3 things you will no longer accept in a relationship. It could be, I no longer accept men who don't show real interest in knowing me. Or, I no longer accept whoever makes me feel like I need to beg for attention. Put that paper where you see it every day, and when the next date comes, read it before leaving home. To remember who you are. Because healing doesn't come from finding the right man. Healing comes from you becoming the woman who doesn't accept the wrong man. And when you do that, when you change your mental frequency, the universe and God conspires in your favor, and you finally attract what you always deserved. Hey, if you got distracted, come back here with me now and pay attention to this, because this is the most important part of this entire video. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe God isn't punishing you? That maybe every wrong man who passed through your life wasn't random? That maybe all this pain had a greater purpose? I know it seems cruel. I know you've cried asking, why me? But what if I told you that God was protecting you all along? Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. God isn't asking you to lock your heart away. He's saying, be careful who you let in, because what enters your heart determines the course of your life. Every wrong man you attracted was a reflection of what you believed you deserved. But God never agreed with that. He never said you should accept crumbs, never said you should erase yourself to be loved, never said loneliness was your destiny. On the contrary, He was always by your side, whispering, you deserve more. But you couldn't hear it, because fear screamed louder. You know what the truth is? God allowed you to go through all of this, not because He's cruel, but because you needed to learn to value yourself. You needed to feel firsthand what it's like to give your heart to someone who doesn't deserve it, so you'd never do it again. So you'd finally understand that you weren't created to beg for love. And now, in the middle of all this pain, God is offering you something greater, not just a better man, but a better version of yourself, a woman who knows her worth, a woman who doesn't accept disrespect disguised as love, a woman who trusts that God has something prepared and doesn't despair while waiting. Psalm 37:4 promises, take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. You read that and thought, then why am I still alone? But look carefully. God didn't say He'll give you just anyone. He said He'll give you the desires of your heart. And for that, He first needs to heal your heart, needs to clean out the wrong beliefs you carry. Because as long as you think you need to be perfect to be loved, you'll attract men who make you feel imperfect. As long as you operate in fear of loneliness, you'll accept company that makes you feel even more alone. But when you finally surrender this to God, when you stop forcing it, when you trust that He knows the right timing, everything changes. God isn't denying you love. He's preparing you to receive the right love. He's teaching you to guard your heart, to not give it away so easily, to not accept just anything. Because you, my dear, were created to be honored, respected, chosen, not tolerated. And when you understand this, when you stop fighting against God and start trusting Him, loneliness stops being a curse and transforms into a sacred time of healing, a time when you learn to love yourself, to value yourself, to prepare yourself to receive everything God has already set aside for you. So here are the 6 quick tests you should run on the first date, not to judge him, but to protect you, to honor the heart God gave you, to never betray yourself again, and to finally attract the love you've always deserved. Test 1. Does he arrive on time? Respect begins with punctuality. If he doesn't value your time on the first date, he won't value your presence in the relationship. Don't accept flimsy excuses. Don't justify the unjustifiable. If he can't organize himself to arrive on time, he's not ready to have you in his life. Period. Test 2. Does he ask questions about you? Or does he only talk about himself the whole time? Real interest shows itself in genuine curiosity. If he spends 3 hours talking about his ex, his work, his problems, and doesn't ask anything deep about you, he doesn't want to know you. He just wants an audience, and you're nobody's stage. Test 3. Does he listen when you speak? Or is he on his phone, distracted, waiting for his turn to talk again? Presence is the greatest gift someone can give you. If he can't be present for 2 hours on the first date, how do you think he'll be present on difficult days? Pay attention to his gaze. Does he see you or just tolerate you? Test 4. Does he show clear intention? Or does he leave everything in the air, between the lines, in the let's see what happens? A mature man isn't afraid to show interest. He doesn't play games, doesn't leave you in doubt. If he keeps stalling, creating mystery, making you guess what he feels, he's not confused. He's just not interested enough, and you deserve someone who's sure about you. Test 5. Does he respect your boundaries? Or does he push, insist, make you feel guilty for saying no? If on the first date, he's already trying to cross boundaries, imagine when you're together, respect isn't negotiable, isn't earned gradually. Either it exists from the beginning, or it doesn't exist. Test 6. How do you feel next to him? This is the most important test of all. It's not about what he says. It's about what you feel. Do you feel safe? Do you feel seen? Do you feel at peace or anxious? Your body doesn't lie. Your intuition never fails. If something inside you screams, "Careful," listen. And here's the final truth. If he fails any of these tests, you don't need to give him a second chance. You don't need to wait for him to improve. You don't need to convince yourself that deep down he's nice. You simply recognize, this isn't the man God prepared for me. And you move forward with dignity, with peace, with faith. Because when you stop accepting the wrong one, you open space for the right one to arrive. When you change your dominant thought from scarcity to abundance, you attract exactly what you always deserved. And when you trust that God has the best for you, you stop despairing, stop forcing, stop accepting crumbs. Loneliness stops being a curse and transforms into preparation. The waiting time stops being empty and becomes sacred, because it's in this time that you heal, that you find yourself, that you learn to love yourself. And when the right man finally arrives, you won't be desperate, won't be anxious, won't be begging for attention. You'll be whole, conscious, ready to receive, not to beg. Psychology taught you to understand the pain. Faith taught you to transform pain into purpose. And now you know, you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to be yourself and let whoever doesn't value you go. Because what's yours will never escape you. And what isn't was never meant to stay. You can change your destiny. It starts today. It starts now. It starts with this decision. I no longer accept less than I deserve. And God will honor that, because He never wanted you to settle for crumbs. He always prepared a feast for you. You just needed to learn not to accept less. If this message made sense to you, if you felt every word echo inside your chest, subscribe right now to our channel. Here you won't find superficial advice or empty promises. You'll find the truth that sets you free, the psychology that heals, and the faith that transforms. Don't walk alone on this journey of self-discovery and healing. We're here to help you break the patterns, heal the wounds, and attract the love you've always deserved. For you who made it to the end of this video, I want to give you a special invitation. Leave a comment right now saying, "I deserve true love." Declare this out loud. Write this with your own hands, because when you declare it, you activate faith, and God honors that confession. I promise that every person who comments will receive a special blessing. God will open the eyes of your heart so you can see your worth and finally attract the love He always prepared for you.